The worst thing that ever happened to me happened at a hotel. I was making a cross-country drive. I won't say where it was exactly, because I really don't think that was important. However, it was a long and lonely cross-country highway. I had been driving a long time and very late into the night. There weren't many cars, and the ones that were there wouldn't turn off their high beams, so it was a lonely and tired experience. Each streetlight hit my eyes like a hypnotist's watch, making me feel as if I was in some sort of long and painful to my eyes dream. I'm one of those people who likes driving at night, because I tend to make better time, but I was having way too difficult of a problem this night. Eventually I decided to just give in and go to a motel. It was a bit of a run-down place. I didn't even like the look of it at first, but who knows how much longer I would have had to drive before I found another. The office, once I walked up, was more like a movie theater ticket booth than a motel office. There was a glass booth, and I had to pass my credit card and ID underneath the glass. It was just weird. The man at the counter was a bit creepy, too. He kept looking at me in this strange way, and I could have sworn I saw him checking me out over and over. I felt dirty once I finally got my key and went into my room. However dirty I felt, though, I definitely didn't want to take a shower right away in that room. It wasn't dirty, don't get me wrong, but it did sort of smell really weird. I checked the bed sheets, and they were very clean, which made me happy, but I could tell the carpet was very old. While it may have been vacuumed, I figured that was probably where the smell was coming from. The bathroom was clean, but I noticed that the water smelled too, and that's why I decided to skip the shower. I got changed up and got ready for bed. I thought I'd check out an hour or so of television and try to fall asleep after that. Yeah, I had been falling asleep on the road, but I always like to see something on TV before going to bed. I had almost fallen asleep while watching. While I was dozing, I suddenly heard a knock at the door. I made my way over, stumbling as I was extremely tired. When I looked through the keyhole, I saw a rather large and nasty-looking man. He had to be 6'5", and I couldn't even hazard a guess to his weight. He was also really dirty, and I can't even describe how gross he looked. I wasn't about to open that door. I did ask through the door, though, if I could help him somehow. "Hey, yeah, the manager told me I needed to come and get you and take you to the desk," he told me. "There was a problem with your card." It was very fishy. This was a motel. The manager could have just called me. In fact, I asked the man this. "Oh, the main phone at the desk is broken," he informed me. "You have to come out to the desk. There was a problem with your card." I wasn't going outside. I told the man to wait for a minute. Went over to my computer, which I had connected to the motel internet. I pulled up the website for my card. When I did, it confirmed that the money had gone through just fine on my motel stay. I was about to check something else when the man began fiercely pounding on the door. "Sir, if you don't come out right now, we're going to have to call the police," the man yelled at me. "You'll be arrested for trespassing since you didn't pay for the room." Well, if this guy was planning on attacking me or killing me or something, he'd really made a mistake getting so aggressive. I wasn't about to come out now, and his reasoning was extremely stupid. I went over to the door and made sure the bolt was locked tight. I yelled at the man to get away, because now I was calling the cops. His response was shocking. "You call the police?" he yelled back, surprised and incredulous. "You call the police?" "Sure, call the damn police. All they're gonna do is arrest your ass. You're trespassing, you idiot. You'll go to jail immediately. Only way you ain't is if you come out of this door right now." I went ahead and phoned the police while the man was still pounding on the door. Apparently they were already on their way, as the motel attendant and one of my neighbors had heard the ruckus and called them immediately. Going back to the door, I told the man that I had called the cops and we'd just see who would get arrested. Well, he didn't waste any time. He ran off, jumped into a pickup truck, and sped off into the night. When the police arrived, we gave him the full story. They arrested the man while we were talking, actually. Apparently, he was an ex-con. He had served time for aggravated assault and attempted murder. I found out much later, during the case, that he had also been wanted and charged with murdering a motel guest in a neighboring state. He pretended to be a motel worker, demanded a woman come out of her room because her car didn't go through. Well, she went with him, and he beat her badly. She died. After he was found guilty in our court, he was taken to the other state and prosecuted there, where he afterwards got a life sentence. I was going into the city for work. My company was sending me in for some training, and I was actually excited. They were sending me to one of those high-rise hotels, and I had never been to one of them before. It was an all-expenses-paid vacation to me, in a way. I had money for food and a little for entertainment as well. I was also so excited that my hotel room was on a really high floor. I just always wanted to be on a high floor of a building. When I got into the hotel, I was pretty impressed with the money my company must have spent to get me there. I checked in, went to the elevator, and came all the way to the 50th floor. I got into my room and immediately went to the window. I looked out onto the city. It was Las Vegas, by the way. Anyhow, I decided to go out and spend my first night hitting the casinos. I went out of my room and got on the elevator. When I did, I noticed there was only one other person inside. I guess I should feel somewhat bad about labeling him immediately, but he seemed extremely filthy and I almost thought he was homeless, honestly. He didn't appear to be the type of person who could stay at such a nice hotel anyway. Several times the man tried to start up a conversation with me. I politely gave him yes or no answers to most of them. He asked me if I was going anyplace in particular, and I just told him I was going to be at the casinos. When he asked if I needed someone to show me around, I gave him an absolute no. The guy stopped talking after this, but even though we were the only two people in the elevator, he began slowly moving closer and closer towards me. I tried to ignore him, pretend he wasn't there, but it didn't stop him from moving. Soon he was so close to me that I could practically hear his breaths. I was dying, hoping the long elevator ride would end, but I still had a while to go. Thankfully, just when I thought I was going to yell at the man or something, the elevator stopped at a floor. The guy quickly moved away from me, verifying that he must be a creep. Thankfully, the couple that got on stayed on the elevator all the way to the bottom floor, since no one else got on after them. When we got to the lobby, he followed me out the door and turned to walk the same way I did. I began walking a bit faster, trying to get a head start on him. I was able to lose him in the crowded streets of Las Vegas. I felt a sudden wave of relief when I did. More than once while I was out enjoying myself, though, I saw the man in the same casino I was in. Each time, I wasn't quite sure if he had seen me or not, so I would just try to lay low and even go to a different casino. I just wanted nothing to do with him. When I had had enough of all this casino browsing, I decided to go back to my room and get some sleep. I kept a watchful eye out around me, and was happy that I hadn't seen the man even once on my way back. I felt extremely happy. That is, until I got back to the hotel. He was in the lobby. He was in the lobby seated on a couch right beside the elevator. He looked up as I approached the elevator, and I could see his eyes light up. I went to push the button on the back, just checking to see how he would react. Instantly he stood up. It was obvious he was waiting to get back on the elevator with me. I figured he must have been following me around, and then realized that it made more sense to wait in a place he knew I would go to, the hotel lobby. Well, there was no way I was going to get on the elevator again with this creep. I went immediately away from the elevator, over to the lobby, and complained to the desk clerk. I asked for an escort to my room. They not only got a security guard to escort me, the guard had a talk with the creep as well. He told him he was making me feel uncomfortable, and it would be better if he left me alone. He made the man wait while he went into the elevator with me. I was there for a few days after that, and I did see the man around again. But thankfully he never rode the elevator with me, and never tried to talk to me or anything after that. I don't tend to make too many long drives. One of the reasons is that I don't really like staying in motels. I don't care how clean a motel is. In my mind, it's nearly impossible for it to ever be so. No matter what, people I don't know have slept in the beds and in the sheets that I would be sleeping on. Tons of people would have used the same toilets and showers that I would be using, and I'm just not the sort of person that can deal with that sort of thing, so I tried to avoid it altogether. I was driving home from college to visit my parents. Normally the drive is 14 hours straight through. I basically have to get right out of bed, and I only have an hour or so to visit my parents on arrival before heading straight to sleep. On the particular trip that this story happens on, I ran into a few things that just happened to halt my progress. First off, I got a little bit of a late start because we ended up having a power outage in the dorm. My alarm clock, therefore, didn't go off. I figured I could still probably make it, but I had never driven at that time. I had to go through a major city, and I hit them right at the peak of their traffic. My car was slowed down to a complete stop at times. I had never experienced traffic that was so horrible before in my life. Before I knew it, I had lost an extra 3 hours, bringing the grand total of hours that I was behind to 5. I tried my best to make it up by driving fast and taking less bathroom breaks overall, but the time I was able to make up was quite minimal. I called my parents and let them know that I was going to be showing up about 5 hours late. However, when my eyes began to shut on their own, I realized it would be too dangerous to keep driving. Coffee was just doing nothing for me. I called my parents once again and let them know I wouldn't get there until the following day. I was going to have to check into a motel. I tried looking for one of those chain motels. I don't know why, I just figured they'd be cleaner for some reason. However, I wasn't able to find one before it just got too dangerous for me to drive any further, so I picked the next random motel I could find. I didn't get a good impression from this motel right away. I walked into the office and there was no one there. I rang the bell and heard some noise coming from a room behind the desk. A man, maybe in his 40s, came out from that back room. I could tell he had been sleeping in the office. He kept looking at me in a way that made me very uncomfortable as well. He kept his face down towards the desk, but his eyes were always looking straight up at me. He did this nearly the entire time that I was checking in. I can't tell you how relieved I was when I got my key finally, and was able to get to my room. For a motel that wasn't a chain, it was actually quite large. I had to drive around to my room, and parked right in front of it. I felt a bit better about the experience once I got to it. It was about as clean as you could expect a motel room to be. Still, I couldn't bring myself to shower there. I hadn't brought my shower shoes that I use in the dorm. After I had gotten ready for bed, I turned out the light and went to sleep. I was surprised at how easily I went out. I woke up a bit later, and I was unsure what had woken me up. I'm not one of those people who wakes up during the night often either. I tend to sleep straight through, actually. I assumed I'd heard some sort of noise, and waited to see if I could hear it once again. When I didn't after a while, I decided to just lay back down. I slept for what seemed like a long time, but once I woke up once more, I noticed it had only been about half an hour. Again, I wasn't quite sure what had woken me up. I assumed it must have been a noise, but there was nothing when I tried to listen to one. Once again, I laid back down and tried to go to sleep. However, this time it wasn't so easy. I had been woken up twice already, and I was feeling a bit unnerved at this point. I laid down and had my eyes closed for a while, and then I felt something. It wasn't much at first. It just felt like a slight movement on the bed. I figured it was nothing, until I slowly began feeling something pressing down on the bottom left corner. It felt as if someone were putting a distinct pressure right there. I opened my eyes once again and shot up, this time turning on the lamp. The man, the one who had checked me into the motel, was in the room with me. He didn't have a weapon or anything, but he was there at the corner of the bed. He had been trying to get into or onto the bed with me. It was then when I realized that he must have been what had woken me up the previous 2 times, and it must have been because he was trying to get onto the bed quietly. I was horrified further by realizing the man must have been in the room with me the entire time I had been sleeping. I'm not really that big of a guy, but I'm in decent shape, and I was extremely angry. I jumped out of the bed and grabbed the lamp off the table, threatening to beat the man's ass. He seemed unsure of what to do, and finally decided on bolting out of the room. I quickly used the phone to call the cops. The man had just gone back to the desk. Apparently, he also called the cops at the same time, saying he had an unruly guest he needed thrown out. Turned out the man had a previous record of doing similar things, however, so the police instantly believed me and arrested him. Eventually, I was allowed to just go on my way. I went straight home and never slept in a motel ever again. What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. All the copyright strikes are removed now, so we can get back to business as usual. I'm sorry I haven't been posting as much lately. I've just been really distracted with Monster Hunter Rise, I'll say. But I will get back to posting normally as soon as possible. Thanks to my friend KillerOrangeCat for letting me use the stories from his subreddit in this video. He's been helping me a lot by letting me use some of his stories lately, so be sure to check him out. I'll leave a link to his stuff in the description, and he does really good scary stories as well. They're all really unique, and most of them are original because he gets them himself personally through doing interviews and stuff, so if you guys would like to send in a story or you have a story you'd like me to read, links to all of my social media will be in the description below, including links to my Gmail, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. If you do decide to send in a story, please be sure to include in the tagline what the name of the story is, the type of story it is, if it has one, and how you would like to be credited in the description of the video the story appears in. If you're curious about the art used in this video, I have links to my artist friend in the description below. He makes really good stuff and he does commissions, so be sure to check him out if you like his stuff. And as always, links to the music used in the video will also be in the description in the order which it appears in. Thank you guys so much for watching. Not too many updates this time, and I hope you guys have a great day.